Okay, I'm just getting things sorted out. Bear with me a few minutes. So whenever I run a live stream, I run a laptop alongside the computer that's actually watching the live stream, so I can see the live conversations without ruining the screen and showing them over the top of the simulator. Okay, I think we're just about there. So let's have a look at the route. I'm just going to check the sound levels first. So I'm a bit louder than the simulator, which helps. I'm going to turn it down actually to 25. There we go. So hopefully that works. I'm just going to double check this actually. I've been playing with the sound today, so I'm not quite sure what's going on with it. So it's at 100 there. If we go into the properties in here, cancel. If you go to advanced audio properties, yeah, normally that would be louder. So 0. If we turn this up by about, I think it's 5 normally, and then that will tip it over the, yeah, so I don't have to have it quite so close to me. I'm just looking at the gain levels. I'm probably a bit too loud now, aren't I? Let's go and turn that down a bit. Apologies for this. You're getting a bit of an insight here into the stupidity I have to go through to make everything work nicely. So yeah, there we go. So I have to have the microphone closer to me. That works better, doesn't it? So Jungly Sim says hello, hello. Okay, so you get a bit of a behind the scenes there. So we are in the Black Square Analogue Bonanza once again. We're using the GNS 530 in the loadout because everybody has the 530. Okay, before we do anything, let's go and have a look at the route. Somebody taxiing past behind me. Why does that always happen? Let's go inside the aeroplane so we don't get too much background noise. So we're at Schenectady County, which is just north of Albany. So we're going to start off there, follow along the Mohawk River, or maybe straight over the top of Albany, we'll see. And then we're going to follow the Hudson River all the way down to New York and onto Jersey. So we'll stay along the Hudson and then fly around towards New Brunswick and end at the Hillsborough Township down there on the coast. So it should be good fun. So first leg is going to be from Schenectady County. I'm not sure of the pronunciation. I think it's Schenectady. Over to Columbia County, so 35 miles. But we're obviously going to wiggle around and do some sightseeing along the way, so it might take us a little bit longer than that. Okay. We need to probably put some fuel in the aeroplane, don't we? So let's go and put it 75% maybe, or 74. That will probably do. I'm just going to close the door behind me so we get some peace and quiet to do this. Okay, so first things first in this aircraft, let's go and turn on the batteries. And you can see all the needles have come alive and the engine monitor has come alive over there. It goes through an initialization sequence, which is quite detailed. We're going to go and switch the cabin temperature over to centigrade. If it goes below 10, this little blue light comes on over here telling you that you're freezing the pilot. So what do we need to do? Let's go and check. The fuel is using the left tank by default when you get into the airplane, which is absolutely fine. That's a carbon monoxide detector that you can see flashing down there. Okay, so we're going to go and turn on the beacon light, which is here. And then start the engine, essentially. So we need to make sure that I've got my control configuration. You can tell I didn't prepare properly for this, can you? I need to go and select the appropriate quadrant profile for a single engine plane. There it was, I went straight past it. Single engine, apply, go back, resume. Okay, so I can now push the mixture all the way to rich. I can push the propeller to high RPM. I can crack the throttles open, and I can... Now this is an interesting one actually. If you want to prime the engine, you can play games with putting the fuel pumps on and turning the engine over with no mixture, things like that, or very low mixture. But we're just going to go for it straight away. Is it going to allow it? It depends on the state the airplane's been left in. Yeah, it's not going to start, look. So what we will do is find the fuel pump and put it on low. And then it's not having it, is it? So let's go for fuel pump on high and lean it out. Put it back to rich. And there we go. So if nothing else, the new Bonanza teaches you how to manage an engine properly. I've got very low sound in the room. Let's just check what you're hearing versus what I'm hearing. Okay, it's not too loud for you. That's good. So someone's asking how much this plane costs. I think it's about $25, something like that. So essentially, from the exterior, it is the same as the Bonanza that comes with the simulator. But they've obviously ripped out the interior completely. So it's not just that it looks right, everything works very accurately to the real thing. So, you know, all the failures, the way things interoperate, the systems, the wiring behind it, of how everything is connected, it is all there. Anyway, so we can turn the alternator on to get some power. Now we've got the engine running, so we're not just degrading the battery. We can go and turn the nav lights on. We can go and turn... We won't put the pitot heat on until we're on the runway. We can turn on the master avionics switch, and you can see suddenly needles are flicking around all over the place. The altitude pre-selector is booting up over there. The GPS system is booting up. The weather radar is working in this aircraft, and also this aircraft does have failures. So if we go and have a look in here, we can see at the moment the airplane's in absolute tip-top condition. If we mismanage the engine during the flight, then we will damage it. This aircraft remembers where switches are as well, or not all of them, but a great deal of them, so you have to be careful with that. So we're going to switch on the GPS. What else can we do while we're sat here? What's happening with the temperature? It's still only 15 degrees. If we pull this out gently a little bit, it'll warm the cabin up. We have got some lights which we could put on to make things a bit more obvious. We'll put the taxi light on as well while we're sat here. Okay, so just waiting for the GPS, which is just booted up, and we'll go and program our flight plan in. Oh dear, excuse me. I'm still suffering with this cold, it's ridiculous. KSCH for Schenectady County. So, KSCH. Enter. I'm on the, which server am I on? If anybody did want to join me for the flight. I'm on the West Europe server. Let's go and change that to the West USA. Well, East USA we're in, aren't we? We might see some aeroplanes around if we do that. Okay, so Schenectady is there. Now down to Columbia 1B1. So let's go and plug that in. 1B1, Columbia County. Next one is 20N for Kingston, Ulster. So 20N, enter. Then KPOU for Hudson Valley Regional. KPOU, enter. Then KHPN for Westchester County. Kilo Hotel Papa November, Westchester County. And finally, Central Jersey Regional 47 November. So 47 November, Central Jersey Regional, enter. Okay, so flight plan, our basic flight plan is done. Again, we're not going to be abiding by any regulations or rules while we're doing this. We're just going to go for a fly and enjoy flying an airplane. So I haven't had a chance to have a go in anything for a few days, so this is going to be just a bit of fun today. So calibrate the altimeter so we can see we are 300 feet above sea level, so we'll climb up to about 2,000 feet while we're cruising along as a general rule. We'll look at the altitude pre-selected once we're up and flying. Okay, so there's no real wind. I've turned the wind off because it was horrendous weather, and that makes for terrible sightseeing. So I've got the few clouds default configuration in the simulator, which you can see just gives you a couple of knots of wind. So we've pretty much got a free choice for takeoff. I'd be inclined to just turn around and use runway 28 and then just circle round to have a look at the area before we head on across either along the Mohawk River. Yeah, that's probably the nice thing to do, isn't it? Just go and fly along the Mohawk River first and then fly past the built-up area of Albany. Okay, so we want to double back on ourselves. This is Little Nav Map, by the way. If you've not seen it, it's a free navigation program that plugs into Flight Simulator. So just search for Little Nav Map on Google. So we need to just double back and then to the left. Okay. So park and brake off, flaps to take off position. Turn around and then follow around to the left, and we should find ourselves on runway 8 or 08 I should say. I've set the time for about 8 o'clock in the morning. Should we look from outside? Just going to double check this before we pull onto the runway. So runway 28 is ahead of us. That's the taxiway. Ease the aeroplane into the air. And we're up. Gear up. Hopefully this is going to look quite smooth. I'm not using the PMS GTN 750. I'm using the, just reading the live stream comments, I'm using the GNS 530 that's built into the simulator. Okay, the beep was telling us we're within 1,000 feet of our target altitude. Did we put all of our lights on? No, we didn't. I haven't put the strobes on yet. We can now put the pitot heat on. Take the taxi light off. Normally below 10,000 feet commercial traffic will fly with landing lights on, so I'm going to. We're not going to go to any great altitude, so we're just coming up on 2,000 feet. And let's start our turn, and we should see the river, and there's the river that we were talking about. So if we scoot over to this window, there's the airfield we've just left, which was Schenectady. If we have a look on the map, let's just get this trimmed out before we do anything else. So we're going to calm everything down a bit now we've climbed out. So flaps up, reduce the propeller RPM. Actually I've done that a bit too much. Dipping into the cloud. Don't want to go much above 2,000 feet because of the cloud base. Let's try and stay below it if we can. Okay, so where are we? So we are flying up the wrong way at the moment, so we're going to do an about turn and go back towards Albany. So let's increase the range on this, and that will show us the map. It's a gorgeous morning. So that's the river as it goes around the edge of Albany. So if we head for the corner of the river, that will work well for us. Yeah, so we're aiming for the corner. So we're going to overfly Schenectady County again. That aeroplane is. Whoa, stutter from the sim there. It's probably loading the model in for the aeroplane, wasn't it? So someone's saying, any tips on accurate trimming? No. You have to keep trimming. If you're going to fly by hand, you will always find yourself always trimming. So the usual trick is to either get a a quadrant that's got a trim, or a separate control that's got a trim wheel on it, or I just use the hat switch on my joystick for both aileron and elevator trim. So that means it becomes second nature to just be trimming all the time, basically. I'm trimming ailerons at the moment to stop it from rolling. Torsten says, greetings from Norway. Okay, so overflying the airfield that we just took off from a few moments ago. So we took off runway 28, flew the wrong way up the river valley for a minute or two, and now we're on our way back down towards Albany. So we're going to enjoy the scenery along the way, hopefully. So let's go and sit up in the cockpit and have a look outside as we traverse the river. So for this section of the river, it's called the Mohawk River. Let's do a little trick in this one nav map. Open window layout, minimal, and we can keep this up in the corner if we're careful and clever about this, or just get rid of the graphic. Taskbar settings, if we go to behaviours and make that hide, we can then do this trick where we have a little nav map as our scrolling map while we're flying along, which is quite a nice way to do things. So if we set the view to be fairly central, and then we get a view of the altitude and the airspeed and the map. So yeah, Outdoors Delmarva is saying, good thing you changed the weather, the wind here is horrible. It really is. It's kind of 20 knots gusting 30 from the northwest, I think. I did consider doing it with live weather, which would have made the visits to the airfields dangerous. It would have been good fun, but the main problem was the cloud. It was just, yeah, you wouldn't have seen anything. Should we do this from outside? I need to check the volume levels probably to see. Yeah, it's really loud from outside, isn't it? Let's turn that down to about 25 maybe. So there's Albany International that we're just passing by. And we have a friend with us. So you can see Albany over in the distance. We're going to go along the river past it and then continue on down the Hudson towards Jersey. Should I go and set this to be much higher so we don't keep getting alerts? It's a nice looking airfield, isn't it? Obviously we're in an area of airspace we shouldn't be in, but we don't have ATC today, so we're not going to worry. So Thomas O'Brien's asking why the VTOL was abandoned. It killed too many people, as far as I understand. The VTOL version of the Bonanza had the unfortunate nickname the Doctor Killer, because so many crashed that were bought by executives or, healthcare professionals. Yeah, and I guess it points towards that back in the day when the VTEL was being sold, the flight training wasn't as strict or as comprehensive then as it is today. So the people that owned the VTELs were not kind of instructed specifically in just how dangerous they might be in certain conditions. Obviously the VTEL that's available from Coronado, I think it's Coronado, isn't it? It isn't as, the flight model isn't very accurate in it, so it doesn't have that kind of, what do they call it, coffin corner in the flight model, where the VTEL would expose the pilot, and yeah. Anyway. I'm guessing if you go reading on the internet, you could probably read all about it, and the reasons, you know, that it was pulled eventually. Okay, so we're coming up to Albany, and if we zoom in on the map, you should see, with a bit of luck, yeah, this is the Hudson River. This is the beginnings of the Hudson that ends up, well, Hudson obviously goes way further upstream, I'm guessing, yeah, through Greenwich and up that way. But this is the Hudson River that ends up sweeping past New York a bit later on. So this is Albany. That looks like a 3D asset for the town hall. It's quite cool, isn't it? Someone's asking, do I own Navigraph? Yes, I do. And I've got this flight plan programmed into it, but it's not as obvious what you're looking at as Little Nav Map. I mean, it's quite good. If you're into realism with aviation, it's good. Certainly for instrument flight, it's fantastic because of all the charts. But it doesn't have sectionals, which is kind of bizarre, really. I am running the We Love VFR add-on, which puts chimneys in place. Yeah, you can see it's just loading some stuff in there. So it puts factory chimneys in where they should be. It also does radio masts and mobile phone masts, all that kind of stuff. So things that, you know, that would be a hazard to GA aeroplanes or helicopters, that sort of thing. There's another add-on you can actually download. I've forgotten the exact name of it. I think it might be gondolas and power lines, maybe, that wires up all of the pylons with wires that you can hit, which is good fun. Ooh, Hellflyer 71 is asking which GA aeroplane is my favourite in the sim. That's a really good question. It typically, I guess, like everybody else, whichever is the newest kind of interesting one will obviously be the favourite at the time because it's new and shiny and, you know, something new to take your interest and to learn about. But I do find myself going back quite often to the Caravan, probably, just because it's so easy to operate. In terms of the big jets, the BAE 146 is great fun, and it's got that old school radio navigation thing about it that, you know, that in its original incarnation it didn't have GPS, and you can simulate that within the aircraft, so you can remove the GPS and just have the radio navigation kit, which I really like. So Captain Ray is saying, can you use Little Nav Map and just SimBrief for programming the FMC in the big airliners, or do you need Navigraph? Well, you don't need any of them. If you went to SimBrief, that will give you an operational flight plan which you can read by hand and program that into the likes of the 737 or the A320. So you could program it into the FMC as a real flight crew would. And it doesn't take that long, to be honest, because they've got a keypad on the FMC, so you know you can key in the waypoints and all of the data about the aircraft, so it's fairly straightforward. To be honest, I've not done a video doing that, have I? That would be a good one. Taking an operational flight plan and programming, pointing out what is where on the operational flight plan, and then keying that into an FMC. That's a really good idea. I've not done that, and that would be useful to lots of people probably, because then they could go to SimBrief, generate a flight, and then go and jump in the aeroplane and program what's on the printout into the flight management computer. So Outdoors Del Marva is saying the Hudson, yeah, a miracle on the Hudson, with Sully. Captain Sullenberger put his plane into the Hudson alongside, it was down by Teterboro, wasn't it? So almost on the exit. So if we open the map up bigger, so we're just coming down here towards Columbia, where I'm going to make my first touch and go. But if we come all the way down to the city, so as far as I understand, it was around here somewhere that he put the plane in the water. Anyway, we're quite a long way from that at the moment. So if we move the page on the lower GPS screen to show us the data, you can see we're 12 miles away from our first waypoint, which is Columbia County. Got a message of the GPS nagging us. Just get rid of that. Yeah, Navigraph, someone's saying in the live stream, Navigraph is important if you're flying on VATSIM. It certainly is, because not only do you get the plates to look at, to kind of visualize what's going on, you also get the up-to-date navigation data, you know, within the aircraft and the simulator. So some of the aircraft have their own navigation databases, and SimBrief updates that for you. Sorry, not SimBrief. Navigraph updates that for you with its data manager program. So for things like the 737s and the Airbuses of this world, you get absolutely accurate data. So when a controller gives you instruction to go, you know, maybe they give you vectors or whatever to a VOR, it means you can follow them. If you haven't got up-to-date data, you're going to be in trouble on VATSIM quite quickly, especially as standard instrument departures and approach routes tend to change over time. So they might go and ask you to, you know, to fly a specific approach route that you might not have in your database if you haven't got Navigraph. It's so good, isn't it? The view of the ground sometimes is just stunningly good. It looks real. Okay. If we increase the range on this, you can see Columbia County is just coming into view there on the bottom of the GPS. We're getting a bit warm in the cockpit, aren't we? As the sun's coming up, obviously it's warming up in the sky, so I'm going to cut off the heating. We could put air conditioning on, but that will, we can just naturally let the temperature drop back down in the cockpit, so it's not an issue. We can program, if you weren't aware, the GNS 530. Oh, sorry, yeah, GNS 530W, isn't it? It can show traffic. If you go to the next page along, and then this one, and press the button in, and then roll this, and press enter. There's obviously no traffic to be seen, but and then we come back to here. We would see traffic if there was any to see on the map. Is there any? If we zoom out further, not much about, is there? Are we the only plane in the sky? I very much doubt it, but the reason we can do that, or part of the reason... Oh, of course, this isn't the version that has the radar on it. I wonder how the weather... Perhaps the weather radar doesn't work in this version, because I haven't got the blister on the wing. I went and picked a random model. I went specifically not for the turbo model. I think the turbo model's got the weather radar blister. That's interesting. So where are we? We're about to make our detour over towards Columbia County to do a touch and go. So let's turn left. I guess because there's no wind, we can decide what we want to do at each airfield, so we don't have to mandate a specific runway. Probably just circle each airfield, have a look at it before coming in for a touch and go. Just do everything visually. So here's the airfield. Should go and look out the side window as we circle it. There's the light on top of the tower. Oh, it's probably not a tower, it's just a mast, isn't it? I don't think it's a controlled airfield. I might be wrong. So if we do a left circuit around the airfield and come in at the other end, that'd probably be quite good fun. I think it's runway 21, is it? I think. Okay, back towards the river. We'll stay on the river to keep the route easy. Okay, I'm going to turn that landing light off because it's annoying me on the external view. It's very, very bright. I'm just laughing at the comment about the camera control. Yeah, control the camera with right hand and the aeroplane with left hand. Until I'm on final approach, obviously, then I just line the camera up and go back to the throttles. I am looking at investing in a Tobii eye tracker fairly soon, which will obviously change the game entirely. But until then, I'm using the mouse. The one thing that's going to take a bit of getting used to with an eye tracker is doing a live stream. I look sideways at the laptop that's got the live stream on to read the live chat quite often, and that's obviously going to affect where the screen's pointing quite seriously. So I'm going to have to figure out how to do that. It may be that I don't get an eye tracker for that specific reason, thinking about it, because it would be almost impossible to look around. Okay, so 17 miles down to the next airfield. Should we go and have a look and see what the next airfield's called? It's Kingston, Ulster. So near to Kingston, strangely enough. So the route should get more and more interesting the closer we get to New York. Obviously towards the end we'll be in New York City, which will be good fun. It's interesting, Lord Taylor's saying, can highly recommend the Grass Monkey. I know somebody that's got the Grass Monkey and they sing its praises. Just, you know, how stable and consistent it is. So Saren is saying he's using the Track IR. I've looked at the Track IR. I'm still torn. I really don't quite know which way to go, really. J1N is asking what the specs are, yoke, stick and PC. So I've got the Thrustmaster A320 set up, so I've got the joystick and the quadrant with the extra bits on the quadrant to do the flaps and spoilers. I know it's got all the engine switches and stuff, but I never use them. PC is an i7 3.6 gigahertz, I think. NVIDIA 3080 RTX graphics card with, was it 12 gig of RAM that's got on it? And perhaps the most important thing though is fibre internet to the house. Something I have done recently as well. I used to have a 4K screen on the desk here. I've gone back to a 1080p screen on purpose to lessen the load on the PC, meaning that what you're seeing should be better and there should be, you know, less stutters in it. Bizarrely, I think live streaming might be smoother because of the combination of the internet and not having to store the video. So I think the live stream output might be actually be better than my recorded videos. But yeah, the attraction of going to a 1080p screen is then I am not downrating what I am recording through OBS to YouTube. So what goes to YouTube is at the native resolution that was on my screen. Whereas when I had the 4K screen plugged in, that was not the case. It's quite a long way down here, isn't it? We're getting there though. I should turn transmitter on really, shouldn't I? Always forget to run transmitter. Yeah, I think just reading Peter Bevington's comment there about VR versus a screen. For recording videos, VR would be of no benefit whatsoever because you can't get the audience to see what you're seeing. Or they're only going to see one of the eyes or, you know, something bizarre like that. So, yeah, for your own experience, VR is fantastic. I've had a go on it. But for recording videos for YouTube, there's no point at all. So Saren, all J1N is saying that when he switched to having a very fast internet connection, it helped the frame rate in Flight Simulator. Yeah, Lee is chipped in with the same. It just helps with the stutters. Where you get loading of things and pop-up and stuff, it's not going to happen anymore. Because basically, if you've got fibre, your internet connection can go faster than the Microsoft servers can throw the data at you. So you become bound by the speed of the servers, and that sometimes does show up. You sometimes see server problems. You know, where you might see a texture that hasn't loaded or something. I think we kind of take for granted the colossal amounts of data this simulator is throwing around. Okay, we should be coming upon somewhere a bit more interesting in a moment. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, so just run the next bend. We're coming up towards Kingston, Ulster. So I'll circle the airfield and go for a touch and go again, as I did before. This old Rhinebeck airfield, temporarily closed. Is that the one where they used to have the warbirds? Am I thinking of the right place? They used to have like some First World War aeroplanes and biplanes, things like that. Is that old Rhinebeck? Should we go and have a look at it in a moment, just to have a look? I think it's that airfield, isn't it? The name rings a bell. Okay, so we can see this airfield down here, so we're going to circle it. So I'm just going to turn away from it slightly. And then we'll go and hang out in the window while we circle it. So if we go round and do maybe a right circuit in this time. Some very strange buildings down there. Hexagonal. I wonder if there's beehives nearby or something. Okay, let's get the landing lights on. Whoops, pressed a button I didn't mean to. Do we have 2 runways here? How strange. Or it's just 1,000. They haven't done it accurately, have they? The 1,000-foot markers are almost touching each other because it's such a short runway. Interesting bridge through the trees. Oops, wrong button. Okay. Oh, what have I managed to do over here? Oh, it's the traffic warning, yeah. It's telling me there's traffic, basically. If I come down, you can see the traffic's happening now. So I'm going to turn it back off. And then come back to the map screen. Is it going to let me? There we go. So we were going to go and look at Reichenbach. Oh, there's an airplane. Where's he gone? Where'd he go? There he is. See if we can get in some formation flying here while we're having a bit of fun. Heading out towards Reichenbach. Just have a quick look at the map while we're at it though. Wants to go left really, 90 degrees almost. There's a lake. Yeah. We'll have to wait with the formation flying. How are we doing on the fuel levels, by the way? So I'm going to switch tanks. So if we zoom in on this, we can see Reichenbach is out here somewhere. Yeah, I've seen, just reading the live stream comments outdoors is saying that, is it Rheinbeck? Let's just have a look. Yes, Rheinbeck, not Reichenbach, sorry. Rheinbeck, there it is. It's directly below us now. So, they do shows, yeah, with old World War I aircraft and stuff. There's lots of videos on YouTube of them flying. Rheinbeck. It's too tempting, isn't it? Should we do a left circuit in and go and have a look? Right, we need some airspeed. Okay, let's get back on with our route, shall we? GPS is losing its temper with us and throwing all sorts of messages about what direction we should be going. Okay, let's see if we can get some performance out of this thing. How much have we damaged the engine so far then? Let's go and have a look. Oh, we took 3% off it. I know when I did that. When we came into that airfield then, I hit full throttle for a few seconds. And it didn't like it. So coming back towards the Hudson, and there's some turbulence being thrown around. So here's Rhinebeck village we're about to pass over, which is right down here. So if I squeeze up against the window, you can see there's a helipad. I imagine this is either a school or a hospital or something. Who knows? We can probably find out if we look on the map. Okay, we continue south along the Hudson. So Peach Lemon is saying, John, I'm guessing you're not into jets as much as GA. Well, I don't know, I like all airplanes really. Obviously I've been covering a lot of propeller planes on the channel, but trouble is jets tend to fly at altitude just doing instrument navigation, and it's quite boring to watch. Unless you're doing, you know, a specific video about how the flight management system works or something. It's like quite often I do group flights when I can fit it in with a group that fly online called My Air. And they are really great, and they do ATC, and it's a fantastic experience. But their flights tend to last 2 hours, and you end up with an hour in the middle of the flight with nothing to do other than to check in and out of sectors. So you kind of, you know, minimal comms. But you know, apart from that, I think they're fantastic, and I enjoy the challenge of operating a jet accurately and communicating with ATC as well, and you know, flying SIDS and stars and going through transition altitudes and all that kind of nice stuff. But VFR has its own attractions as well, doesn't it? Just having the freedom to just go and fly around, which obviously you don't get to do in a big jet if you fly it properly. Someone said they will be shocked to see me fly a helicopter at Boonville. Oh, maybe that's a challenge, is it? To be honest, I haven't got helicopter controls, I haven't got rudder pedals, and without that you're not going to be able to control the helicopter on the realism settings. And if you turn a helicopter down to, you know, to have assistance on the tail rotor, it's so far dumbed down that you may as well just be in slew mode. I did do a quick video when the helicopters first came out, flying around the local airfield and around New York as well, I seem to remember. But I haven't touched the helicopters since, to be honest. Yeah, this, I'm just reading about that Turtle Bay stick. This Airbus controller, I twist that for the rudder. is very, very accurate actually. The potentiometer for the rudder on it is very good. Having said that, I seem to remember when I first got it, I took it to bits and squirted lubricant into the potentiometer because it was jittering, and it solved it. So, you know, new from the factory, it was really bad. So I took it to bits, lubricated it, and it's been absolutely fine ever since. So here you go, over on this hilltop over here is the results of having We Love VFR. You can see the radio masts on top of the hill, which obviously would be a problem if you didn't know it was there. If you look on the map, on a VFR map, it will be there on a sectional. There's another one over there, look. If we change the time of day, it's probably got a light on it. They usually do. Yep, you can see it lighting up with a sequence. How far away from are we away from our next airfield? Oh, is this doing the warning about clear? Yeah, it was just doing the same warning. Can we do the message on this one? There we go. Ooh, there's a bug, look. We can't get rid of the message on the second screen. Interesting. There's another bug there. We're finding the bugs today. 6.5 miles to go to the next airfield. Let's go and have a look at it. Oh my word, a whole bundle of aeroplanes have joined us. So Hudson Valley Regional is the next airfield. Should we just circle it first and then pick a runway? And we're about to pass over a boat apparently as well. So should we slow down a little bit, follow the river, and then scoot over to the window and have a look at this boat that we're about to pass. Looks like it's a coaster of some kind. So to get boats into the simulator, I have installed the GAIST Ultra add-on, I think it's called. Global AI Shipping. I think it's the acronym is for. But it puts animated ships into the simulator. It's very good. Okay, so we're going to turn off towards this airfield. I think the airfield's just out here in the trees. You can see the clearing. So this is the Hudson Valley. I've got a new mouse arriving tomorrow, by the way. When you see judders with the mouse when I'm panning sometimes, it's because my mouse is on its way out. So I think I'm probably going to fly left around the airfield and then come in on, what's that going to be, runway 06 maybe? I can't see the labels yet, we'll find out in a moment. I'm guessing this is going to be 24. Just looking at the compass. Oh, sorry, this is 06. Yeah, of course it is. So yeah, we'll be looking at 24. So just go for the first stage of flaps to slow the airplane down a little bit. And gear down. Straighten our view up. Okay, follow the bend of the Hudson round and we'll be on down river pretty quickly. So I'm just trimming out. Haven't used autopilot at all yet. Maybe this is a good opportunity to use autopilot because we've got 35 miles of not much coming up. What I might do is go and turn up the data. If I go into traffic, sorry about the people that are following me, I've just probably vanished. If we go to traffic, I'm going to turn on the leisure boats and stuff to 100%. Road vehicles, no, they can stay at 50. Ships and ferries 100. Apply, go back, resume. I'll open the throttle a bit to catch up with everybody that just went zooming past. The only reason I've done that is so we actually get some stuff to see on the river. There's a lot of coasters and things, but I guess we'll see once we get a bit further down. It'll start spawning stuff, hopefully. Should we have a play with the autopilot to shorten this up a bit? And maybe do some radio navigation. So there's a VOR over here. Actually, what's the... I'm just looking for one that's broadly... There isn't one in the direction we want to go, which is a shame. Maybe we just use nav on the GPS. So we're at 2,000 foot, so we'll go for 3,000. And we'll go there at 500 feet a minute. Let's go and turn the autopilot on. And we'll go for nav mode. And let's see if it captures the GPS track for us. So it's turning towards it. Let's go and straighten this up. So what actually is the direction of track? 180 degrees. So we're on an intercept course at the moment with the GPS plot. We're climbing at the moment at 500. Well, we got to 3,000 already, so that's a moot point now. So let's see how fast this thing will go in a straight line, shall we? Let's open it up. I just don't want to push the engine too much, so I'm just looking at the manifold pressure there. It's okay actually, at full throttle it's not killing itself. I'm amazed about that actually. So we're just approaching the track. You can see that happening on the HSI, and the aeroplane's banking right to turn onto it. Very good. Obviously we've got a DA62 behind us. He could leave us in his dust if he wanted to. I mean, the Bonanza's quite fast, but it's nothing compared to... I think the DA62 can do 180 cruise quite easily. So someone's telling us to buzz West Point. Maybe. So let's have a look at the map. We got Hackensack, Yonkers, Tarrytown, Orangeburg, Ossining, Briarcliff, Haverstraw, Peekskill, Fort Montgomery, Bear Mountain. So we're going to be passing a lot of that as we fly over this eastern side of the river. Oh, the sim has paused. The age-old freeze of the sim. Here it comes again. It was probably somebody spawning in, or... Oh, here we go, it's the DA62. Getting too close, so he's dissolving. Yeah, this is quite boring scenery, isn't it? Shall we go back to heading mode and go back to the river? Okay, so let's get the heading in place first, shall we, before the aeroplane does an about turn. So we probably want to fly about 45 degrees to our current track. So 225 degrees-ish. Let's get back towards the Hudson. We can always deviate back to the airport when we get closer to Westchester. In fact, if we head for Fort Montgomery, we should see that boat. So there's this bend in the river that we are not heading for. We're heading for the next one. We want to go for... Oh, it's out of sight. If we go ahead for this one... So let's turn the heading bug a bit further. We'll get to see the boat as we come by. Let's drop as well to 2,000. How high are these hills, do we think? Can little nav map tell us if we open the window layout to default? Will it tell us the... Oh, of course, it's only telling us on the track. So if we put some custom waypoints in here, out of position, and out of position. So yeah, the hills aren't very high, are they? So you can probably get away with 2,000 feet, which we're about to do. Let's drop down to 1,000 feet. Everybody wants me to go and look at West Point, don't they? Should we turn back up the river and go and have a look at it? Okay, coming off the autopilot. I wonder if they've got any special scenery there, seeing as it's such a significant place in terms of military history. Oh, that might be a custom asset over there that just loaded in. Was it just the body of water that loaded in that we saw the reflection suddenly change? So I'm guessing, this being West Point, the mowed the mowed lawns are probably a punishment. Yeah, even the baseball field has got superbly mowed lines in it, which is probably somebody's punishment, and they got told off if they weren't straight. So we've got a couple of football fields down here. It's interesting, other than hearing about West Point, obviously, in terms of the military school there, the only time I've ever heard of it on this part of the world is there's a Dar Williams song called The Hudson, and there's a line in The Hudson where she talks about West Point, or sings about West Point. It's a fantastic song, by the way. If you don't know the song The Hudson by Dar Williams, it's amazing. It's worth looking it up. How are we doing for fuel on the tanks? I don't want to get unbalanced. No, they're still pretty good. In terms of engine damage, yeah, we still only lost the 3%. That was my own fault for going full throttle. Oh, thank you for the compliment, Mike Dawson, or Michael Dawson, on the tutorials. All I'm really doing is relaying things that I've learned that I think others might find useful. It's funny, sometimes I have to go back and watch my own tutorials to remind myself how things work. It's a bit like an actor learning lines, especially with so many different aeroplanes, that I only know how an aeroplane works for perhaps a day or two around the time that I'm recording about it, because then I move on to something else and it goes out of my head. That's why I write the procedures, so that I can follow them myself. A classic will be the thrust modulation system in the BAE 146. When I recorded the video on it, I was an expert at it. If I go back to it now, I really have to think. Yeah, just reading the comments about staying current. Yeah, absolutely. It is nuts though, isn't it? What the simulator allows you. You can be flying a helicopter on Monday, 737 on Tuesday, a Bonanza on Wednesday. It's crazy. Be flying a twin on Thursday. You could be flying a glider on Friday and a 747 on Saturday, and so on and so forth. Yeah, it's just mad. Now, is that a boat we can see directly in front of us? I think it might be. I think it might be a tug. Should we go and do a low pass? So again, the chimneys with smoke are the result of We Love VFR. There's another coaster further up the river. I'm going to say hello to him along the way. So whereabouts are we at the moment? Just in amongst these boats. Westchester County's over there, so we'll make our way over there in a minute. Is it a tug or a lighthouse? Probably part of the scenery. No, it's a tug. A very short tug. So Old Pirate has been watching the 737 videos. The PMDG 737s are really good, I have to say. They're good in that they just work, and they're reliable and predictable, and there's all sorts of functionality hidden away inside the flight management computer. I did some videos on it a while back about the kind of some of the lesser known ways of programming waypoints, and you can do all kinds of tricks with it. It's very, very cool. Right, there's a coaster we're about to go zipping past. Keep wanting to crack some joke about them carrying rubber chickens to somewhere or other, but I can't think of a Muppet movie-esque line to say. Yeah, Fozzie's shipping company or something. Let's try not to overspeed the aircraft if I go diving down to do a low pass. Okay, so we're going to turn left and go inland now. Go and find Westchester. So of course now I'm wondering what we can see out in the distance. What on earth is that building? Is it custom 3D assets? What should we be seeing out here? Sleepy Hollow? No, what we're seeing is over here somewhere. Is it just the community college? Yeah, I think it's just commercial buildings. No, this would be the college down here, wouldn't it? That's further away. I don't know. So, Ellen J, I hope that's how you pronounce your name, is asking, is this plane anywhere near the standard of the old A2A ones? It's very, very good. So obviously I'm not really delving into it too much during this flight. I'm just hand flying and throttle on 50 or 75%, 50% mixture and just trundling along. But the engine behaves as it should. So you can make it backfire, you can flood the cylinders, you can foul them, you can do all kinds of things to it. You can do some disastrous things to it. But yeah, it's really, really good. Surprisingly good. And, you know, all power management as well, or electricity management, you can cause all sorts of things to happen. The flight model apparently has been tweaked as well as part of the update, so here comes the airfield in front of us now. But yeah, everything is clickable, so all of the breakers and everything work as well, if that's important to you. It's just, yeah, everything works as it should. So you could practice procedures for the real one with it, basically, you know, or at least do familiarity and dealing with things failing and fault finding. It's accurate enough to be able to do that. So I'm going to fly left circuit in, come the other end of the runway. So we'll just fly in along past Westchester here. So when you buy the Black Square Bonanza, you also get a version of it with tip tanks and another version of it with a turbo on the engine. So the modelling of the turbo is very accurate as well, apparently. I've not tried it myself, so you get like critical altitude modelled where you're going to start to have the turbo not work, and then you have the problem of wanting to clean the engine up afterwards, so you can run it on lean and all those kind of tricks. So if you didn't see at the start of this stream, because I left the airplane in a bad state the other day, I came into it and the airplane it had remembered, and I had to go and clean up the plugs before I could get it to turn over. It's an interesting building, isn't it? Or interesting car park, I should say. Whoa, the sim has suddenly gone stuttery. Wonder why. Now it's gone smooth again. How strange. Okay, so our next heading will be 245 degrees for a long way down to the edge of New York, I guess. So we'll head back to the Hudson and just follow it in, basically. Aha, we can see those buildings now. No, they're not in silhouette. So it was a degraded Planet of the Apes style photogrammetry area. So you can see the city starting to appear in the distance now. I think I've just damaged the engine a bit further because I went full throttle for a few seconds. Yep, took another 1% off of its life. It really doesn't like doing it, especially when it's already hot. Yeah, so just reading the comment from Adam down the bottom there. This this aircraft does model the engine properly. So I had fun and games getting it started. I had to go and lean it out, turn the fuel pump to maximum to empty the cylinders, and then turn it over again and it fired up. But yeah, that was my own fault, because a few days ago I was playing around with the engines, you know, torturing them basically to see, getting it to run rough, things like that, and trying to get it to backfire. And of course I left it, came back into it today, and I couldn't start it, so I had to clean it up. But it gives you full guidance in the documentation about the various situations you might find the aircraft in and how to recover from those situations. So it's, you know, it's very, very good documentation. There is a 90-page document, a very detailed document that's very clear and very well laid out that comes with it. So we're back on the Hudson, heading down towards New York City. So if we have a look on the map, just to give everybody their bearings, here we go. Yonkers is next, then on to Manhattan, then New York. We may not complete the full flight. I guess we'll wait and see. We'll see when we get to about Ellis Island and see how we're doing for time. I imagine we will circle New York City a couple of times. It would be a shame not to, wouldn't it? And Central Park. I guess, yeah, coming along this side of the Hudson, we'll overfly the aircraft carrier, the museum, won't we, with the airplanes tied on its deck. I'm not sure. Do a Sully to end the video. What, put the plane into the harbour? So New York is appearing in front of us as we speak. We have company. Okay. Time to start admiring New York, I guess. Can we get the view out over the nose, maybe? If I do this, that's probably as good as we're going to get, isn't it? Unless we do this from outside, of course. I'm going to gain a little bit of altitude. Jeffrey's asking what charts I'm using. I'm just using Little Navmap. It's a free program. I have got Navigraph, but it's not much use for things like this, whereas Little Navmap's quite good. There's an unofficial add-on for it which gives it Google Maps in the background, which is really useful. Okay, Central Park is coming up on the left. Should we go and jump inside? So we'll do an orbit of the city just to have a look at everything. Before we go much further, do I need to switch the tanks? Yes, I do. So we're going to go back to using the left tank for a while. So this is just running stock ultra settings. I've not done anything special with the frame rate before anybody asks. It's this Empire State, isn't it, in the middle? Should we do a circle here? Just have a look. No doubt, if you're from this part of the world, you'll be able to point out landmarks and stuff I can't, other than obviously the major ones. I've never been to New York. I've been to San Francisco, so I can quite confidently name some of the big streets in San Francisco. let's carry on down to Manhattan then. They have optimised this so much, haven't they? When it first came out, it was quite stuttery at times, and it's just got better and better over time. Right, should we loop back round to Ellis Island and go and have a quick look at the Statue of Liberty? Oh, there's a big old container ship coming in. Maybe we'll have to... Oh, there's a cruise ship further down. Maybe we'll come past the helipads and have a look at the container ship on our way. There's the helipads over there. Oh, we may as well have a look at the bridges while we're here as well. They've modelled them after all. Right, over to Ellis Island we go. If we circle round behind it and losing speed and height as we go, then by the time we get to it, we get a good view of the statue. Get the flaps out. So we're coming a bit tighter on the next pass. Okay. Enough funny business. Just climbing out gently, heading towards our destination, which is Central Jersey Regional Airport. So we'll just center this up. We're at 1,000 feet at the moment. Let's go for 500 feet to get there. Autopilot on. Oh, Sim's just stuttered badly then. 2,000 feet at 500 feet a minute. And we'll make our way over there. I think we're going broadly the right direction. Yeah, we are. So that's Newark Liberty International Airport over here. It's loading assets in at the moment. You can see it stuttering. So Localizer 36 is saying, I used to work as a CFI in this area back in 2000. I used to work out of 2NA Marlborough Airport. I've flown to Central Jersey Airport in real life. That'll be interesting to see what you think of it then. Have you seen it in the simulator? Be interesting to see what you think when we see it. I'll circle it a couple of times before doing a landing. There's no wind today and we're not using ATC, so we can pretty much choose our approach. We have a look at it on the map. It's interesting that there's an awful lot of run-in on 07, isn't it? A big cemetery next to the runway. That's not really a great advertisement to pilots, is it? Come to the flight school. Don't look at the cemetery. We want a few more degrees, right. $17 miles to run. which if we check on it on nav map should agree with it. So if we right click, we can measure, and 17 miles on the button. Perfect. If I go and look outside in the sim, we should see our fellow pilots that are flying along with us. Be interesting actually. Let's go and pop open Navigraph and see if it's got on its VFR chart any of the approach routes. No, it hasn't. Oh, that's a shame. I wonder if there's any plates for this. Open charts. So we've got a couple of RNAV approach routes. Interesting. Runway 7 and runway 25 approach. Oh, here we go. So we want to go for Yoda. Interesting. So it's coming in at 1700 feet for Yomim. So fly into the beacon and then follow the route round to come in. Interesting. See, obviously this is us. If you've not seen Navigraph before, this is us flying in straight line. So really, we should be, if we are going to even shortcut this, we should be at 1700 for Yomim. Anyway, we're going to circle the airport anyway to go and have a look at it, to see if we can find this cemetery. That'd be quite funny if we can see rows of graves of pilots that came before us. Very cool. It's just miles and miles of suburbia out here, isn't it? I mean, just if you just look in the overhead view, just look downwards, the spider web of suburban streets and houses. It's just never ending. We've got a what's it, retail park over here by the look of it, with all of the parking and the big flat buildings. Okay, we're not far away now. About 5 miles out. Just out of interest, was that a retail park over here? Yeah, it's Costco. Okay, he's just crossing over the river. If we go and look from outside, we'll see the water. There it is. And that's the airfield down in there, isn't it? Or am I misreading that? So we'll look from inside. Yeah, it's down in the hollow. So if we circle the airfield, let's come off the autopilot, cut the engine back. See the beacon flashing down there now. And we're going to circle the airfield about 1,000 feet. It's funny, isn't it, watching the flight director having a fit over there, saying, "You want to go this way? What are you doing?" I'm guessing that's the graveyard. Unless, oh no, it'd be one of these, wouldn't it? Yeah, that would make sense. That's the rows of stones. Yeah, you can see them, look. There they are. The photogrammetry has picked them up. Oh my word, there's loads. So should we come in at the other end then? I'll just circle round. That makes it easy for parking then, doesn't it? Because we can just roll off at this end. Landing lights on. Gear is down. Flaps are travelling. Very, very unorthodox approach. Should we give this guy a surprise when he comes off his phone? Okay. Parking brake is on. Landing lights are off. Lean the engine out. Starve it of fuel. Prop stops. Alternator off. Pitot heat off. Lights off. And master avionics, or sorry, magnetos off. Master avionics off. I left the propeller on. Oh well. And turn the fuel off. Wrong way. There we go. I think. Oh no, the doors don't work on this version of it, do they? No. It's it does all the systems really nicely, but some of the other niceties around the airplane just aren't there. So there you go. The Black Square Analogue Bonanza. I can hear other aeroplanes manoeuvring behind me. Oh, it's the DA-62's coming. He's just showing off with his carbon fibre aeroplane. It's like a... Oh dear, he got run into by the fuel truck. Yeah, he's just showing off, isn't he? With his space-age materials. My plane's made of rivets. His is made out of plastic and glue. Anyway, I'm going to call it a night there. That was good fun. I haven't flown around this area for a long time, so it'd be good to do it with controllers on VATS in one night to get all the the transitions between the various sectors and the approach and everything. Anyway, I will see you all soon.